The unbreakable spirit. The Defiance wasn't beautiful. It wasn't meant to be. The starship hung in the void like a jagged scar against the backdrop of stars, its hull a patchwork of mismatched plates and improvised armor. The vessel was humanity's last desperate gambit, not a showcase of engineering excellence, but a testament to stubborn survival. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, her reflection ghostly in the view screen. 3 years of war against the Krell Dominion had left humanity on the verge of extinction. 12 billion dead. Earth a radioactive wasteland. The colonies falling one by one. The remaining fleet scattered and broken. Status report, Maya demanded, her voice steady despite the weight pressing down on her shoulders. Lieutenant Alexei Volkov, her weapons officer, looked up from his station. His once pristine uniform now bore the same makeshift quality as the ship itself, patched and repatched, stained with hydraulic fluid and memories. Core containment holding at 78%, Captain. Better than expected for this jury-rigged monstrosity. He offered a grim smile. The shroud system is operational, but Dr. Kepper says we'll get one shot at best before the emitters burn out. Maya nodded. One shot was all they needed. All humanity had left. The Defiance carried the last hope of the species, an experimental cloaking technology they called the Shroud, and a weapon so morally questionable that its development had been hidden even from most of Earth's leadership before the fall. Both were untested. Both were likely to fail. But failure was a luxury humanity could no longer afford. Navigator, plot our course through the Cygnus Gate, Maya ordered. Lieutenant Harris, send the encrypted package to the resistance cells on the remaining colonies. If we succeed, they'll need to be ready. If we fail, she didn't finish the thought. Everyone knew what failure meant. Commander Darius Reed, her XO, stepped closer, lowering his voice. The crew deserves to know the full scope, Maya. We're asking them to die for this. They already know they're dying for this, she replied, equally quiet. Knowing how unlikely success is won't help them fight harder. The Defiance's mission was simple on paper. Breach the Krell defensive perimeter around their command nexus, deploy the weapon, codenamed Prometheus, and escape. In reality, the chance of survival was calculated at less than 5%. The ship shuddered as its engines engaged, accelerating toward the jump point that would carry them into enemy territory. Maya felt the familiar vibration through her boots, a tremor that never quite ceased in this cobbled-together vessel. Captain, called Communications Officer Imani Wilson, I'm detecting unusual transmissions from the Krell border patrols. Pattern doesn't match their standard protocols. Maya frowned. Put it through. The speakers crackled with alien sounds, the harsh, clicking language of the Krell. But beneath it was something else, a pattern that seemed almost human. That's a Federation emergency code, Reed said, eyes widening, varied in their comms. Survivors. Maya's heart leaped despite herself. From one of the fallen colonies. If so, they're in the heart of Krell territory, right where we're headed. Reed's expression darkened. Could be a trap. Maya studied the signal analysis. No, the Krell don't understand our protocols well enough to fake this. Someone's alive in there, and they're trying to tell us something. The discovery changed everything and nothing. Their mission remained the same, but now there was the possibility that other humans, forgotten, stranded, or perhaps captured, might still exist in Krell space. People who might be saved if the Defiance succeeded. As they approached the jump point, Maya addressed the crew through the ship-wide comms. No grand speeches, no false promises. Just the truth they needed. We're about to enter Krell territory. Our mission remains the same. Deploy Prometheus and cripple their command structure. But we've detected what appears to be human signals deep in their space. I don't know what we'll find, but I promise you this. The Defiance will live up to its name. We carry with us the legacy of Earth and the future of our species. Make ready for jump. The ship plunged into the artificial wormhole, reality twisting around them. For a brief, terrifying moment, The Defiance ceased to exist in normal space. And then they were through, emerging in the darkness behind Krell lines. Shroud active, Volkov reported, his fingers dancing across his console. All systems nominal. The view screen showed the vast expanse of enemy territory. Unlike human ships with their practical, utilitarian designs, Krell vessels were organic in appearance, curved, almost crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. Beautiful and terrible, like venomous sea creatures. The impossible victory. Alarms blared across the Defiance as the first Krell patrol detected their presence. The Shroud technology, stressed beyond its limits after days of continuous operation, had finally failed. Multiple contacts, bearing 030. Lieutenant Harris shouted over the cacophony. Krell destroyers. 5. No, 7 vessels closing fast. Maya gripped the arms of her command chair. Battle stations. Volkov, what's the status on Hayes' frequency disruptor? 73% calibrated. The weapons officer responded, his fingers flying over his console. We need more time, Captain. Time is the one thing we don't have. Maya muttered. Tactical. Deploy countermeasures and bring us around to heading 147. Engineering. I need everything you've got for the engines. The Defiance lurched as its engines flared to life, the makeshift starship accelerating with a groan of protest from its structural supports. Behind them, the Krell destroyers gave chase, their organic crystalline hulls pulsing with building energy. They're charging weapons, Harris warned. Evasive pattern delta. Maya ordered calmly, though her heart hammered in her chest. Reed, coordinate with Dr. Hayes. I need that disruptor operational now, not later. Commander Reed nodded grimly and sprinted from the bridge toward the makeshift laboratory, where Dr. Hayes worked frantically to weaponize her knowledge of the Krell neural network. The first volley from the Krell ships sliced through space, beams of concentrated energy that could vaporize the Defiance's hull on contact. Maya watched the tactical display as Harris executed the evasive maneuvers, the ship rolling and pitching to avoid destruction by margins measured in meters. Return fire, Maya commanded. Target their propulsion systems. We don't need to destroy them. Just slow them down. Volkov fired the Defiance's conventional weapons, a barrage of missiles and energy pulses that would have crippled any human vessel, but merely scorched the resilient Krell hulls. Still, it bought them precious seconds. In the laboratory, Dr. Hayes worked with desperate intensity, her 14 months of captivity and experimentation now serving a purpose she had never imagined. The Krell neural network, the psychic connection that linked all members of their species, had been their greatest strength. Hayes intended to make it their fatal weakness. The frequency modulation is stabilizing, she reported through the comm system, her voice strained. But Captain, there's something you should know. When this activates, it won't just disrupt their coordination, it will cause them physical pain. Excruciating pain. Maya closed her eyes briefly, another moral line to cross. Understood, Doctor. Proceed. A tremendous impact rocked the ship as a Krell energy beam grazed their port side, ripping through the outer hull layers and venting atmosphere from 3 compartments. Damage control teams to Deck C. Reed shouted as he returned to the bridge. Seal off sections 12 through 15. How many casualties? Maya demanded. Reed's expression was grim. 4 dead, 9 injured. Engineering reports the primary power coupling is damaged. We're running on backups. Maya absorbed this. Each death another weight on her conscience. Another reason to succeed. Status of the disruptor. Hayes says 2 more minutes. If we survive that long. The Defiance shuddered under another impact, internal lights flickering. Around them, the Krell fleet had grown to over 20 vessels, encircling them in a deadly net of firepower. Message from the Krell flagship. Communications Officer Wilson reported, surprise evident in her voice. They're offering terms, Captain. Maya raised an eyebrow. Put it through. The view screen shifted to show a Krell commander, a tall, insectoid being with compound eyes and an exoskeleton that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. When it spoke, the ship's translator rendered its clicking language into flat, emotionless English. Human vessel, your resistance is noted. Impressive but futile. Surrender your ship and technology, and your crew will be preserved for study rather than eradicated. You have 30 seconds to comply. Maya didn't hesitate. This is Captain Maya Chen of the Earth vessel Defiance. We don't surrender to those who genocide our people, and we're not here to negotiate. We're here to end this war. She signaled Wilson to cut the transmission. They'll open fire with everything they have now, Reed warned. I'm counting on it, Maya replied. It means they'll be focused on us, not on defending their neural relay stations. She tapped her comm. Dr. Hayes, status. Disruptor ready, Captain. But I should warn you, the effect on the Krell will be. Save the ethical debate for after we survive. Doctor, initiate the disruptor on my mark. The Krell collective conferred in their clicking language, their movements betraying agitation even to human observers. What do you demand? They finally asked. Unconditional withdrawal from all human territories. Return of all human prisoners. A demilitarized zone established between our regions of space, monitored by autonomous beacons that will trigger mutual destruction if violated. Impossible demands, the Krell responded. We require human genetic material for our evolution. Maya's expression hardened. Then we have nothing further to discuss. Lieutenant Volkov, prepare tow. Wait, the Krell interrupted. Alternative proposal. Cessation of hostilities, exchange of knowledge, limited access to willing human genetic donors under neutral supervision. Maya exchanged glances with Reed and Hayes, who had joined them on the bridge. It wasn't unconditional surrender, but it was far more than anyone had dared hope for, a foundation for coexistence rather than extinction. We will consider your proposal, Maya replied carefully. While we deliberate, all Krell ships will maintain their current positions. Any aggressive movement will be considered rejection of negotiations. The transmission ended, and Maya turned to her officers. Opinions. They're still dangerous, Reed warned, and they've shown no reason for us to trust them. True, Hayes countered, but I've been inside their minds, literally. They're driven by evolutionary imperatives, not malice. They genuinely believed humans were merely animals until they studied us closer. Now they're uncertain. Maya considered this. Uncertainty we can work with. Fear alone won't build a lasting peace, but respect might. She tapped her comm. All hands, maintain battle readiness. This isn't over yet. For 7 tense hours, the Defiance and the Krell forces maintained their positions while negotiations continued. Maya insisted on verification protocols and fail-safes, refusing to believe promises without evidence. Finally, a framework agreement emerged. Not peace, not yet, but a cessation of the existential threat to both species. As the Defiance prepared to depart Krell space, carrying the liberated human prisoners and the terms of the armistice, Maya stood alone in her quarters, staring at the stars through her viewport. They had achieved the impossible, turned certain defeat into a chance for survival, not through overwhelming force or superior technology, but through human ingenuity, determination, and the courage to take impossible risks. The ship still wasn't beautiful. It still wasn't meant to be. But as the Defiance began its journey home, carrying news that humanity would endure, Maya thought it had never looked more magnificent. The unbreakable human spirit had prevailed. And among the stars, a legend was born. The story of the Defiance and the impossible victory that changed the fate of 2 species forever. Maya turned to Volkov. Target Prometheus at their command nexus. If the disruptor fails, we take as many of them with us as we can. The weapons officer nodded, his fingers poised over the controls that would launch humanity's doomsday weapon, a device that would trigger a cascading quantum reaction, effectively erasing the Krell command structure from existence. All hands, Maya broadcasts shipwide. Brace for impact and prepare for possible rapid decompression. Whatever happens next, remember, we fight for Earth, for those we've lost, and those who might yet live. The Krell fleet opened fire simultaneously, dozens of energy beams converging on the Defiance. The ship's overtaxed shields flared blindingly bright, struggling to absorb the onslaught. "Shields failing," Harris shouted. 10 seconds to total collapse. Maya took a deep breath. "Hayes, activate the disruptor now. Volkov, stand by on Prometheus." Dr. Hayes pressed the activation sequence. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, across the Krell fleet, something extraordinary began to unfold. The sleek alien vessels suddenly lost their perfect formation, ships veering wildly off course. Some collided with each other, while others fired weapons in random directions. On the communications channels, the ordered clicking language of the Krell devolved into chaotic, agonized screeching. "It's working," Reed breathed, watching the tactical display in disbelief. Their entire fleet is in disarray. The Defiance's sensors captured images from within the nearest Krell ships, scenes of confusion and suffering as the aliens clutched at their head structures, writhing in pain as their hive mind experienced what Hayes had described as the equivalent of a massive migraine, amplified across billions of neural connections. "Take us in," Maya ordered, her voice steady. "Get us close to their command nexus while they're vulnerable." As the Defiance maneuvered through the now chaotic Krell fleet, Maya felt no triumph, only the grim satisfaction of necessity. These beings had shown no mercy to Earth, had deemed humanity unworthy of existence, except as laboratory specimens. Yet watching their suffering brought her no joy. "Dr. Hayes," she called through the comm, "can you modify the disruptor to incapacitate rather than torture?" Hayes' voice came back strained. "I'm trying, Captain, but their neural structure makes the distinction difficult." The massive Krell command nexus loomed before them. A structure the size of a small moon, its crystalline surface now pulsating erratically as the disruptor affected its control systems. "We're in optimal position," Volkov reported, "Prometheus armed and ready." Maya studied the tactical display, watching as the Krell fleet continued its chaotic movements. "Hold on, Prometheus," she ordered. "Let's see if Hayes can refine the disruptor first." Minutes stretched into an hour as the Defiance maintained its position near the command nexus, the ship's sensors monitoring the continuing effect of Hayes' disruptor across the Krell fleet. Gradually, the aliens began to adapt, their ships regaining some semblance of control despite the neural disruption. "Captain," Reed warned, "they're reorganizing. We're running out of time." Maya nodded. "Dr. Hayes, your assessment?" "The disruptor has proven the concept," Hayes replied, her voice exhausted but clear. "But they're evolving countermeasures faster than I anticipated. We have perhaps 20 minutes before they nullify its effects entirely." Maya made her decision. "Open a channel to the Krell command nexus." Wilson looked surprised but complied. "Channel open, Captain." "This is Captain Maya Chen of Earth." Maya spoke clearly, knowing her words were being translated for the alien leadership. "Your fleet has experienced a small demonstration of our capabilities. We can increase the effect 1,000-fold, or we can end it. The choice is yours." For long moments, there was no response. Then, the view screen flickered to life, showing not an individual Krell commander but a collective. Dozens of the aliens connected to neural interfaces, their compound eyes reflecting the light of countless displays. "Human deception." The collective voice rasped through the translator. "Your vessel is damaged. Your weapon temporary. We will adapt and then eradicate." Maya smiled without humor. "You misunderstand. The neural disruptor was our warning shot. Our true weapon awaits deployment." She nodded to Volkov, who activated a visual feed of Prometheus, its quantum core pulsing with barely contained energy. "This device will create a rupture in space-time that will eliminate your command nexus and everything within 5 light minutes. Not damage, erased from existence. You have attacked our worlds, murdered our people, and believed us weak. That was your mistake.